featured unveiling here at the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals. We have a very rare specimen, and as you know, Corvette is the middle name of the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals. So without further ado, I'm going to have our lovely ladies pull the cover off this amazing specimen and learn from restorer Mr. Rick Tucker about what it is that we're looking at. They're going to remove it back to front. So Rick, tell me, what did you bring?
This is a 1971 LS6 ZR2 Corvette. In 1971, Chevrolet made 12 ZR2 Corvettes. 7 are known to still exist. This is the one that left General Motors and went directly to England. It was supposed to be raced over there. The owner there wanted to race it in the Italian 4, I believe, and didn't. He wouldn't tech. Didn't have a roll bar in it, and he wasn't going to put one in it. And the story went on from there. It had a tough life in England.
Well, I bet the streets of England were not used to seeing something with a 454 in it, especially the way that these cars handled, right? Because this was basically a very well-balanced road racer.
It's really true, but because it was a race car, the ZR denoted that it really wasn't, they weren't to be sold, to be driven on the street. I was a fortunate guy. In 1971, I worked for a Chevrolet dealer in Portland, Maine, Forest City Chevrolet, and we ordered and sold one of the 12, never knowing how rare they were going to be. But they were about a $10,000 car back then, which was a lot of money. And they didn't drive well in traffic. There's no fan shroud. You know, they overheat quickly. It's got a small radiator. It's like the L88s. They were no comfort options, but all of the performance options.
Yeah, so definitely, and what's cool is that a lot of people think that, you know, 1970 was, you know, the peak of the LS6 performance, but Chevrolet carried it into 71 in the Corvette, and it still made tons of power and torque.
You know why that happened? This is another interesting story. Zora Duntov was a little displeased in 1970 because his Corvette was the second place car for performance. The LS6 hadn't been federalized in the Corvette. It was in the Chevelle, so the Chevelle had a 450 horsepower car, and his flagship Corvette only had a 390 horsepower LS5. So he got into the parts bin in 1971 and got after it. Basically, the architecture was about the same as the L88s were, but with a bigger bore. It was a 454 block. It's not bore, sorry, stroke. Longer stroke, same bore. But the aluminum heads and the rest to make an honest 425 horsepower with 9-to-1 compression. So if you remember, 71 was the year that all the compression ratios dropped. So yeah, it was a cool deal because it put the car back on top for performance in 1971.
It's a very special engine, and I love that the combination. Something that, you know, the lower compression but still making high power isn't something we didn't see that again until the 80s and, you know, into the 90s. Everybody thought that reduced compression and change in fuel and emissions was the end of performance, but this one really held on. Also, tell me about the rest of the suspension on this car, because, you know, typically people think of a big block as nose heavy and not going to be good on a road course, but this is a little different.
Yeah, you couldn't get comfort options, but you got all of the high-performance options. So the F41 suspension was present. You know, the tire technology was what it was. You got the white leather tires, but it got the big brakes. It got the J56 brakes, so these have the 2-pin calipers in the front. And there was a different caliper, even though it was a single pin in the back. The pad material was different. The tough part of it is you don't get power steering. These things for the street are a bear. You don't want to park them, you know. But the performance level was there because the mandatory options were transistor ignition, all of those things with the special suspension and the rest, the special braking system to make the car a really good actual step-up race car for someone. They were meant to be sold for someone that wanted to race them, road race them.
Well, you did an amazing job. It looks phenomenal. The fit is beautiful, and these cars are not easy to fit when you restore one. Fiberglass, we like to say, is alive. You know, you'll sand something straight tomorrow, and the next day it's all different. So you really did a great job on it.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a round of applause for the unbelievably rare ZR2 LS6 1971 Corvette. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay with us. We're going to have another feature unveiling in just a few minutes, but you're welcome to grab some photographs and hear a little bit more of awesome Corvette history here at the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals.